is False Start, the college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer at FanSided.com. I'm joined today by a man who his friends call Nova, as in Casanova. While I don't know if he has ever heard of the Bible, this one time at band camp, Cody Williams, content director, FanSided.com. How's the pale ale? More importantly, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Shouts Casey Affleck. That's my first thing I gotta say in this. Like when we were talking about this, Casey Affleck's my favorite character in the American Pie series, and I'm not afraid to admit
Yeah,
it.
this is going to be an American Pie themed episode. Saw this at Key West, and I figured it was appropriate.
Mhm.
Why not? We do have a segment dedicated to uh, American Pie, the Paul Finch satin
That's
kimono, and
right.
everything like that. But yeah, Casey Affleck's up here, and then Kevin Myers, who was played by Thomas Ian Nicholas, he's the worst. He's the worst.
Yeah, I mean he's just Henry Rowan Gardner, so that's all that really
Yeah,
matters.
yeah, I had a friend like this in high school, and his whole thing was about like what Kevin was about, and we stopped being friends with him because he was boring and we couldn't go to his house because he was just dweeb.
Yeah, I mean Kevin is by far the worst. You know, just want to get ahead of this in case anyone wants to come after us. Very aware that this movie is not appropriate in the year 2025. Like very, very aware of that fact. But we didn't grow up in 2025. We grew up in a different era, and this movie defined a lot of our high school, man. Middle school and high
Uh,
school, honestly.
I mean, Blink-182 is the soundtrack. I mean, they gave Mutt off Enema of the State, and that's really all you need to
Yeah,
know.
exactly, man. It is an interesting, I think might be the word, time capsule of what 1999 was actually like in high school.
So they were like in high school probably about 10 or 12 years before we're graduating.
Yeah.
So like I have some older cousins, so I'm like, is this what high school was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be close because it honestly, in the 10 years since until we graduated, it wasn't much different, if we're being real about
No.
it.
And I just got to say this, man, we obviously fall started. So we must make a stand here and now. Our first and 15 is, you can ask them questions, listen to what they have to say and stuff. I don't know, man. It sounds like a lot of work. Let's get some Goldilocks with Cleveland.com's conference rankings of the Big Ten because the Big Ten doesn't want to do this. I think
Yeah,
I think the C in conference is a soft C, like Kurt Signetti.
that's right. It definitely is.
I was sitting on that yesterday, man. Kurt Signetti, man, he's made a heel turn for the worst this offseason,
I
unfortunately.
mean, still love him to death. Coach Sig always gonna have a place in my heart, but yeah, I don't think he knows what he's saying at this point, you know.
I can't wait to cancel a game with Virginia. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you got the Who's on the schedule, you got to get out of that. It's just too scary.
No, and so let's run train. Let's run train on this with some too hot, too cold, just right with the Big Ten preseason media poll from Cleveland.com. So I'm gonna run through 1 through 18,
Mhm.
and then we'll get through it. So one, they've got Penn State, two, Ohio State, three, Oregon, four, Illinois, five, Michigan, six, Indiana, seven, Iowa, eight, Nebraska, nine, USC, 10, Washington, 11, Minnesota, 12, Wisconsin, 13 Michigan State, 13 Rutgers. I think they were tied.
Yeah.
Apparently that's what you can do in a poll. UCLA 15, Maryland 16, Northwestern 17, and Purdue Pete coming in at number 18. Woo, tough time for the Boilermakers.
Yeah, you hate to see it. You hate to see it for the Boilermakers. I'll get it started though. Too hot. I'm looking at I'm looking at USC at 9. Like that's where
Mhm.
my eyes gravitated to, and like I think the middle of these rankings are where I have probably the most gripes. But like, man, you can't tell me that you have more confidence in USC than you do Washington, Minnesota. Like honestly, Michigan State down tied for 13th. Like I have a whole lot more confidence in what those programs are and like what they've established under their current regime. Like, I understand it's only a year or two for Jonathan Smith. I still have a whole hell of a lot more confidence than what I've seen from Lincoln Riley at USC. Like, there has been nothing from USC to this point that deserves validation, quite frankly. And then you throw in the fact that I'm not a big Jade Maeva fan. Like, I just don't think he's that special of a quarterback. Even I don't care what system he's in, if it's Lincoln Riley's or if it's whoever's. Like, I just think USC being at 9, like they should definitely be in the bottom half of these rankings, and they're not.
It's like we're trying to group them in. We're trying to make fetch happen here. We're saying like, oh yeah, they're right there with like Nebraska and
Yeah,
Iowa and Washington, like teams that like we don't think are going to get to Indianapolis, but have some things going for them in a lot of ways. It's not quite there. USC is probably going to go 6-6.
yeah, 100. If that, like, I would you be like truly, honestly, deep to your core shocked if they didn't make like if they didn't make a bowl game?
Um, Honestly, man, it's going to come down to the Michigan games, how well they do versus Sparty, Michigan. Like
Yeah,
it's
and I have more confidence in Jonathan Smith and Aiden Childs than I do Lincoln Riley and Jade Maeva. I have a whole lot more confidence in Michigan just playing Big Ten football against USC than I do USC like operating the way that they want to.
I like the last little bit because I had USC number one for me here with Too Hot. What's really the difference between them and UCLA, to be totally honest with you? I think Nico's better than Maeva, but not a
Yeah,
lot. Well, maybe a little bit, but like Deshaun Foster seems to have a better feel for what his team is versus what Riley does, which is odd because he got hired basically off the Raiders because Chip Kelly's like, I'm going to Columbus, baby.
that's right. When Columbus calls, you can't turn it down. You can't hit ignore.
Columbus Calling, is that a song by 21 Pilots?
Wouldn't rule it out. Don't listen to 21 Pilots, but wouldn't rule it out.
Maybe it's out there. I wouldn't listen to it. Wouldn't listen to it either. I had who was it? I had a couple of other teams on here that I think are too hot. My tabs are all over the place. Excuse me.
As are mine. I was actually struggling with it to try to find the one that had these rankings on it. So I'm right there with you.
Okay, so I'm looking at this with the outline. Okay, so I think they're too hot in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think that's
At
definitely.
12.
You'll notice when I was mentioning the teams that USC deserves to be behind, I did not mention Wisconsin in that
No,
list.
no, even though they got what Billy Edwards Jr. to come over from Maryland, they're gonna go 5-7, man.
Yeah, it's not like we've talked about it before. Luke Fickle, talk about not having your finger on the pulse of what your program is. Like, dude feels like he's just coaching in a different movie, different world, different simulation.
They have a brutal schedule, man. They got to play Michigan. They got to play at Michigan, at Oregon, at Indiana, Ohio State, Illinois, and Washington and Iowa at home. Like and then oh yeah, you got to play Alabama in Brian Denny. Like I feel so bad for them, but then again, like you gave Luke Fickle a lot of money, and feel bad for Billy Edwards Jr. Maybe you can go like sounds like a NASCAR driver, man.
Oh, he absolutely sounds like a NASCAR driver, but like in just a football sense, like he's a terrible fit for Wisconsin. He aired it out and like ran around at Maryland. Like you run the ball at Wisconsin, not with the quarterback. You just run the ball, and like Luke Fickle's still trying to make Wisconsin something that it just frankly can't be.
No, he's not Russell Wilson. I saw this. You know what his GPA was in high school?
Please tell me. I need to know.
Apparently, at one point, it was a 1.9.
Highly, highly respect it. Just out
Like,
here vibing.
I mean, at some point, like his report card was just FFFFCA. So it read FK. And how are you like even playing like, I mean, he played like all three sports there at whatever private school he went to in Richmond.
I mean, private school, you goose the numbers. It's fine. We're all A+ students here.
It's not about what you do in the classroom, it's what you know. I mean, I watched Clueless. I mean, that's what Cher Horowitz did.
That's right. That's right.
Oh God. And then anybody else you think that you're too hot on a little bit?
I I actually didn't have anyone that like really stuck out. Like Iowa at 7 looks weird to me, but as we talked about, like with Mark Gronowski coming in with the offense potentially making upgrades, like I don't necessarily have too much of a gripe with it, but I do feel like if I'm picking nits, I would go with Iowa just because I would probably have Nebraska above them. And just because I have a little bit more confidence in what Nebraska is and like there's untapped potential for sure with Nebraska. Like if Dylan Raiola taps into his, 5-star potential, then they could absolutely go beyond, being the 7th or 8th best team in the Big Ten. But with Iowa, like, yes, there is a potential, there's an unknown factor. There is potential with what Gronowski can need for this offense, but I haven't seen that yet. And like, we don't know. I mean, there's a non-zero chance that Kirk Ferentz just decides to neuter what Mark Gronowski does. And like the Hawkeyes offense doesn't really change all that much.
I get what you're saying. I think I had Iowa at just right, but again, it's
Yeah.
picking nits here. And the one that I would maybe picking nits here, I think they're a little too hot on Michigan
Yeah.
potentially, just because like Sherrod Moore is going to miss 2 games to start the year. I think it's Central Michigan and Nebraska. It's going to come after him going to Norman, where I think they're going to lose to the Sooners.
Hmm.
If they get off to a slow start, maybe the season doesn't go off the rails. Maybe Mikey Keene's being asked to do too much. I don't
Yeah.
even know if Jaden Davis is still on the team. And then it'll be Bryce Underwood at some point.
Yeah. At some point. We don't know what point, but it will be Bryce Underwood at some point.
And it gets cold in Ann Arbor, but who are they too cold on there in the Big Ten?
So I started with Washington, man. Washington at 10. Like we talked about this. Feel like we've forgotten as a collective college football watching world that Jed Fish is a really damn good coach and that Washington can recruit at a decent level and that Washington has talent. They have a quarterback, they have a nice situation, and like they did not lose at home last year. And like they also ended the season very hot. I understand that you lost, Steve Belichick and some defensive pieces, some good defensive pieces. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, man, if you're going to have USC at 9, how are you going to have Washington at 10? Like the upside here, like I think the upside of Washington is at the same level that it is with a Nebraska, with an Indiana. Like I think that kind of upside exists with the Huskies.
I was almost right there with you with Washington too. It's like I think that a lot of these people asking him to come play in Seattle is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Jed Fish is a good coach. Cousin Demond Williams is pretty good too.
Yes. Yes.
My whole concern is like, what happens when they got to go across the country? Like,
Right.
I mean, I could see them losing at like, I mean, they could lose at Michigan, they could lose at Wisconsin. I mean, hell, they could lose at UCLA. But
Right.
there's so much variance to Washington. But you're absolutely right there. This team could be a lot better than like 9 or 10.
Yeah. 100%. Like it's just it feels like Washington was just like, oh, I like to me, it looks like they're just being overlooked. And I don't think that's right. And that's why I have them as too cold. Just because like I don't think this Washington team is a program that you should be overlooking going into the season.
I think that's fair. I probably already mentioned my biggest one, UCLA. They're way too
Yeah.
low.
Yeah. I agree.
Um,
I agree.
it's like they've got a really high floor. We kind of saw it last year. Deshaun Foster, he starred there. He seems to know what he wants to do. Again, he's basically taking the Wisconsin blueprint into Westwood and making it work. Now you have a quarterback who we'll talk about later
Yes. Yes.
on the show, but like if he thinks I mean, he may think he's Troy Aikman, but even if he's just Josh Rosen or Cade McNown, then that's pretty good for the Bruins.
Yeah.
And
Hell, if he's DTR.
yeah, like you can go 7-5 with like an 8-4 ceiling and mess some stuff up. And
Yeah.
I think that like again, getting Nico in there with SEC, with playoff SEC experience, add traditional power, I'd be foolish to scoff at that.
No, agreed, 100%. And you mentioned it earlier, like Deshaun Foster seems like we were skeptical of the hire just because of how it happened, but like it definitely seems like he has a finger on what that program needs to elevate potentially beyond its means, I think, in terms of talent.
For sure. You got anybody else for too cold?
Yeah, kind of a similar story. Like Michigan State being tied for 13th. Like, all due respect to Greg Schiano and Rutgers, like having Michigan State tied with them is incorrect. Like, I just don't agree with that at all. Like, you talk about the upside that UCLA has with Nico. Like, Aiden Childs is a legitimate NFL draft prospect.
Right.
Imperfect, no doubt about it. Has a lot of room to grow, but like the talent is unbelievable. And like we know Michigan State has resources. Jonathan Smith worked hard to get this roster in a functional shape after the shape that Mel Tucker left the program in. And like, I'm not saying I don't see a world where Michigan State's going to Indianapolis. I don't see a world where Michigan State's, threatening for a college football playoff spot, but top half of the conference, absolutely, I can see that being the case.
I had them at just right, but I was kind of, if I had to pick one side or the other, it would probably be too cold. I think that Michigan State's going to be a lot better. Wouldn't shock me if they had like a season like Indiana did it a year ago. Of
Yeah.
course, you got to beat rival Indiana, which I think
Right,
is important
right.
there. And that's my first of two other too hot or too cold. I think they're a little bit too cold on the Hoosiers, and I think they're
Mhm.
too cold on Ohio State.
Ohio State's a good one. I like that.
Okay, so Indiana, they're probably you're looking at them very not a lot of variance. Like
Yeah.
maybe you're 10-2, maybe 11-1 at the high end, maybe you're 8-4 at the bottom. 9-3 is pretty good. The schedule's really tough, but you've also got Fernando Mendoza, who's really tall and really handsome and really smart. Apparently, he was going to play at Yale. I don't know if you knew that.
I mean, Yale has a history. Barton Simmons a good looking man himself, so you know.
Kevin Stefanski rocks the hell out of that beard, dude.
That's right.
Or no, is he Penn? I mean, Yale might be Mike McDaniel, but either way, it doesn't matter.
I couldn't possibly tell
It doesn't matter. I
you.
wasn't going to get in there anyway. But like, yeah, Indiana, you got some tough road games, at Iowa, at Oregon, at Penn State.
Yeah,
You win one of those, you're probably going to go 10-2. And at that point, like, you're back in the playoff again.
agreed. I like that for Indiana.
And Ohio State, I think they're going to beat Texas and they're going to beat Penn State. And eventually Penn State's going to have to beat them. I don't think that they're going to. And until proven otherwise, I think Ohio State's the team to beat in the Big Ten because, like, we've seen them do it before.
Completely fair. That I can't speak. Transitions us nicely into just right because for just right, I have the top four. I think Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, Illinois is the right top four in the right order, personally. And I understand everything you're saying about Ohio State. I just still have a lot of questions. Like
Yeah.
I've not been shy about that. Like I have questions about what this quarterback room is going to look like. I have questions about what the offensive line is going to look like. You got a lot to replace on the defensive front. It is Ohio State. I know that they have guys very capable of doing that, but we've seen with even programs like Georgia, like sometimes you do take a step back and like I think one of the things I look at when I look at this, like the top of the Big Ten this year, I think one of the things that's going to define it is I think the margins for error are very narrow this year. And like, I don't think that's necessarily been the case with Ohio State in previous years. Like, they've been so much more talented and so much more ready than a Penn State that you can just out talent them. Like, even if you're not playing your best game, you can still pull through at the end of the day because you're more talented. You're probably still more talented, but you're less experienced now. And like, I think that's where I come into it. And I'm just like, this might be the year Penn State clips them. This might be the year that Ohio State doesn't necessarily have the edge that they've had for so long.
I think that's fair. Oregon was unquestionably like just right. They're number
Yeah,
three with their core.
100%. They're better than Illinois, but they're clearly not in the same tier as Penn State and Ohio State.
Illinois and Indiana, like whoever wins that game is going to
Yeah,
basically like if you stack it up, like you can go 10-2, but they could both go 9-3 and not make the playoff. But like
right.
Oregon's comfortably in. I don't think they're going to beat Penn State. I think they're going to struggle with Washington, but they can beat Iowa. They'll get some pelts on the wall there too. But
Yeah.
yeah, the top like four or five teams feel pretty good.
Yeah, agreed with that.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I feel like we made some pretty good time there. But yeah, I gotta tell you this, man. You don't score until you score. We're gonna have some more Big Ten energy here with our thoughts from Yahoo's all Big Ten teams. So I've done about as much prep for this as Steve Stifler did on anything he ever did in his life. But I did do it. So
Hell yeah.
um, I guess let's start with the quarterbacks. You've got Drew Aller on the first team. You've got Fernando Mendoza on the second team, and you've got Luke Altmaier on the third team.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of parlays nicely into the point I just made about Ohio State. Like, insert Ohio State quarterback has been a pretty easy all Big Ten preseason selection for the past few years. Like whether
Mhm.
it was Will Howard coming in as a transfer, whether it was CJ Stroud, I like even Kyle McCord, I believe, was on the preseason all Big Ten team coming in there just because it is the Ohio State offense. And I think the fact that you don't see an Ohio State quarterback on either of these three teams, like for the preseason teams, I look at that as validation of the uncertainty I have around that position. Like we don't know if it's going to be I keep wanting to do this. Lincoln Kineholtz. I keep wanting to call him Croman Hook. I keep wanting to go to the Croman Hook.
Luke Croman Hook, Lincoln Kineholtz, it's the same thing. Kineholtz and Croman Hook. That's a law firm, dude.
That's a law firm and like never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
But
It's a law firm in Hamlet. Yeah, that's
yeah,
what it
that's
is.
right. That's right. Uh, but no, I would like whether it's Kineholtz or whether it's Sand, like those are very unknown commodities. Like Kineholtz was in the building last year and they brought in Will Howard because they didn't think that was good enough. You know what I mean? And so like I'm looking at this situation and I'm like, I look at these Big Ten teams and I'm like, am I like it? Like I said, it's validation for me because I think I'm seeing this right that there may be a drop off from what we've seen at that position, which in Ohio State's offense, that's a pretty big deal.
And if you're going to go further down, like what we know that Mark Radowski is pretty good. We know
Hmm.
what Demond Williams is capable of. We've seen glimpses with, I totally forgot about Nico and like
Yeah, yeah,
obviously like Maeva's played a bunch. Like there
Aiden Childs, like,
Aiden Childs, Billy Edwards.
yeah. I mean, Billy Edwards was not the problem with Maryland last year. I
No,
assure you of that.
no, so that's good. There's just some names on here that are just bona fide number ones, like Nick Singleton, Max Clary, a tight end out of Ohio State. You look over there on defense, you've got Danny Dennis Sutton out of Penn State, Mateo Uiagalelei out of Oregon, Bryce Betcher playing both ways,
Mhm.
baseball man, and then Caleb Downs at safety. Like that guy's so good.
He's yeah, like I said on the last show we did, like Caleb Downs probably the best player in the 2026 NFL draft. Like he's unbelievable.
Any takeaways for you here that stand
So
out?
I have one gripe. Going back to me thinking Washington is being overlooked a little bit here. Denzel Boston only being the third team, like I'd have him at least on the second team over Carnell Tate, and like maybe even on first team with over Jacoby Lane. Like truly, like I think, like again, I think Washington is being overlooked. Denzel Boston might be the best, like among the top three best wide receivers that are going to be in the 2026 NFL draft class. Like he is an absolute stud, and if Cousin Damon is really takes the leap like everyone in Washington hopes that he does, like Denzel Boston could end up by end of the season on first team All Big Ten.
Yeah, like trying to find like who the second best receiver is in the conference beyond Jeremiah Smith's a little tough.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
I'm not replacing Jeremiah Smith. Let me be
yeah,
very clear about that.
I'm pretty high on Elijah Sarant, but like I get what
Yeah.
you're saying.
No, and I again, like I think personally, it would be a conversation between Surratt and Boston for the other first team spot with Jeremiah Smith, not Jacoby Lane.
Right, right. I'm trying to think if I got anything else on here that really stands out.
I will say one thing that does stand out when I'm looking at the first team: Penn State not having a representative on the offensive line. And for a program that has consistently produced offensive line talent, that is something to monitor because they do have someone on the second team and they do have someone on the third team, but like it is not the elite group that we've seen in Happy Valley in recent years.
I was actually going to talk about this one player in particular, Nolan Ricci on the third team.
Mhm.
Again, I remember like when we were covering recruiting a little bit more closely in a pre-false start world on fansided.com. I remember he was a big time recruit at the
Yeah.
Big Ten. It was either going to be Penn State or Wisconsin, and he ultimately, I think, stayed in state and went to. It was highly contested. This is like a top 50 player, like
Yeah.
5-star about there, and like I feel like he's been at Penn State for a while, but he's only
Let's see
on
what
the third
class he was
team.
in.
I
He
feel like
was
22,
24/7.
maybe.
That's a
Yeah,
great question. This is killing me. He's a redshirt junior. So yeah, that'd be
yeah,
22. Yeah,
22,
22.
21, somewhere in that range. Yeah, but like you would figure like these are the cracks that are potentially in the foundation at Penn State where like I don't always trust them. Like you usually get those kind of guys and
Hmm.
you develop them pretty well. I mean, I know that they're going to be really good at running the football and stopping the run because that's just what they do there at Penn State. But
Right.
we'll see. I don't know about Trevor Pena, like how good he's going to be. I know they've tried that before with other receivers
Yeah.
there. So I don't know. I think that's a very good, valid, interesting point that like the offensive line may not be as good at Penn State, but then again, Georgia's not going to. That's not going to be a strength for them either.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's a death sentence. It's just something to monitor, especially I think particularly as we look for the Penn State passing offense to have more of an effect than it has in recent years, like for Drew Aller to take that step forward. If the offensive line becomes a problem, then that severely limits what Penn State's ceiling is.
Totally agree. And I also the other thing that I'm just going to say, just while off the top of my head, while looking at this, Indiana's not going to fall off a cliff. Like
No,
they've got too many good players right now. Like they may not make the playoff again, but like they're going to win. Like their floor is like eight wins.
no, agreed completely. Like Indiana, like, again, soft C coach Sig aside, like he's a damn good football coach and a damn good like program runner. And like 2024 Indiana was not a flash in the pan. Like I'm not saying, like you said, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoff every year. I'm not saying they're going to be at that level every year, like winning 11 games. But I am saying that they're not going away. This isn't like a a Northwestern pop year type of thing. Like I have full faith that with the investment that Indiana has made as a program into the football program, like or as an institution in the football program, and with the people they have in charge there, I just don't see Indiana just fading into like irrelevance. Like they're going to be a factor in this,
And
like
I think
perennially.
And I think last year they played with a lot of confidence. Like they racked up a bunch of wins. Like I thought they were kind of going to be a definitely maybe good. Maybe they would win 8-4, and they went 11-1. So,
Right.
but like they were a lot better than I anticipated. But I'll tell you this: when Coach Sig decides to get rid of Virginia on his schedule and schedule somebody else, this is what he says. He says, "Why do you think I accepted this date? You're a sure thing." TIN10. These transitions are so good. I've been working really hard at this.
Coach Sig double bagging it, you know.
God. Allison Hannigan kind of makes the series.
Oh, she really does. It doesn't work without her, which is ironic because I don't think she's the like as a fan of How I Met Your Mother, don't think she's the best actress in the world, but she makes
No,
these movies for sure.
I mean she made what Ted Mosby tolerable, sort of
Allegedly.
allegedly. I was mostly watching that thing for NPH to be
Yeah,
honest.
MPH and Jason Segel are the two best parts of that show, no doubt.
100%. And but like so we're gonna get to your inspirational hero. I mean, mine's more Louis Grizzard and like Andy Staples. Yours is Bud Elliott of CBS Sports. We're
Right.
about to hear that name a bunch, but he went forth with his blue chip ratio rankings. So he said these 18 teams can actually win a national championship. And since you read from the book of Bud, can you explain to the viewers what the blue chip ratio entails?
So blue chip ratio essentially is how much talent do you have? How much blue chip talent do you have on your roster? And he does it with the ratio of essentially like blue chip talent to not blue chip talent. That formula has changed over the years as the transfer portal and as everything has started to develop. And so he has modified the formula, but it's still heavily based in recruiting. Who is recruiting these high athletes and who is keeping them on the roster? Obviously, who's like the supplementation that happens in the transfer portal matters, but it is essentially when you boil it down to the simplest point, how much talent do you have on your roster? And you have to be above a certain threshold. And the numbers back this up. You have to be above a certain threshold in terms of the blue chip ratio to win a national championship.
That was very eloquent. I'll throw a bunch of numbers your way. A blue chipper is defined as somebody who was recruited out of high school as either a 4-star or a 5-star talent. And you need to do that for 4 cycles in a row and be above 50%, meaning more than half of your roster recruited out of high school needs to be at this. And look, this number does not mean like if you're below this, you cannot make the playoff. We saw SMU do, we've seen
Mhm.
TCU, Cincinnati. But to win a national championship, you have to be above this threshold. And there are 18, and I like it, teams. Maybe there's 8 that I don't like, and there's 10 that we do like.
That's
So
right.
this is gonna be different from what I wrote for fanside.com. I wrote 8 teams that are not gonna do it. So maybe let's just start with TI and 10. Who do you think of these 18 teams that are listed on here? I'm not gonna say what they are because this is spoil it, but
Yeah.
who's 10th for you?
So at 10th, I have Alabama, not shockingly. We know that Alabama is still Alabama, like in many ways. And one of the ways is collections of talent. Like Kalen DeBoer is not Nick Saban, still recruiting at a high level, still a lot of talent from the Nick Saban era on this roster. So we know Alabama's going to be there. I've expressed a lot of dubiousness in Alabama. The fact that they're 10th on this list has a lot to do with some of the other teams that are on this list, your Oklahomas, your Florida States, that I don't really see having a viable chance of winning a national championship for one reason or another. If I'm boiling it down, like Alabama is still talented enough to get there. I have a lot of distrust in the way things are going right now.
Yeah, the line of demarcation of these 18 teams is somewhere between 8 and 10. Like, I
Mhm.
think if you kind of go beyond that. So I have Alabama at 9, and at 10, I have Miami.
Okay, and I have Miami at 9, so it's we're in a lockstep there.
Yeah, these are teams that, probably have maybe Miami could go 11-1 if it went perfectly. But again, you got Notre Dame and you got Florida. That's tough.
Yeah,
And,
that's a big ask.
but like going 9-3 with either of these teams is likely. But I would say the reason I've got Alabama over Miami is I still think that it's the helmet a little bit more, where
Mhm.
like your wins are probably magnified a little bit more in a little bit tougher conference. So maybe the whole strength of schedule thing that the committee doesn't say they look at might actually factor in a little bit. But yeah, we're right there with 10 and 9, but a little flipped, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely see like you said, the line of demarcation is pretty clear right about there.
Okay, so we may have the same teams in the top 8. Who do you have at 8?
At 8, I have Oregon.
Same.
And okay, yeah. So like I look at the Ducks and like it really comes down to the fact that they just haven't like gotten over the hump yet. Like we know that this is like they've been an NFL draft factory. They've been Dan Lanning is copying the Alabama and the Georgia molds that he came from at Oregon, where it is an embarrassment of riches in terms of talent.
Right.
At the end of the day, though, what have you done? And what you've done is you made the 12-team playoff and then promptly got your doors blown off. So like, what are we like? I need to see Oregon do it before I put them higher than this, because we've talked about it and we can't really define it, but there is something holding this program back. I don't know what it is. As this clearly shows, it's not talent, but it is something holding them back.
I've got a 3/4 of the way baked theory that I just came up with right now.
Let's
Why
go.
I have them here. We may have the same 7 teams ahead of them, and there may be a slight differentiation of order. Maybe there's one out that maybe I'm higher in one than you in the other. Oregon's kind of an outlier in terms of recruitment because in state, it's a state of 3 million people.
Right.
Half of them live in Portland Metro.
Yeah.
So my thing is, you're getting people from out of state to come here, whereas like teams that we know, like people who grew up in Georgia want to go to Georgia. People who grew up in Ohio want to go to Ohio State, and things of that nature, where high school football is a really huge deal. And I think like I don't know, the expectations are kind of more ramped up at these other places.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that Oregon has to do, like kind of the soft nature. It's like, oh, it's fun. It's a really loud environment. I'm like, Austin Stadium's like 55,000 people. It's not like Vaught Hemingway gets crazy too. Like, and that's like the 12th best SEC stadium. So maybe that plays into it too. Maybe it's all about, oh, look at my cool jerseys, oh, like all the Nike. I feel like it's kind of like the same thing with A&M, where like it attracts a certain type of person that doesn't necessarily win. Like A&M gets the Shamar Stewarts of the world, and Oregon gets I'm trying to think who's the Kayvon Thibodeau's of the world.
Unfortunately, you know what a good comparison for Oregon is? It's the Dallas Cowboys. I hate to say it because that is the NFL team that I give my hard-earned money and attention to, but yeah, they're the Dallas Cowboys, man. It's a lot of flash, it's a lot of publicity, a lot of good PR. At the end of the day, what have you won? And the answer is nothing.
I mean, we've talked about this before, like a year ago. The Falcons of West Virginia, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a lot of fun, but not really winning a lot. But everybody's like shocked. Like you haven't won a national championship, you haven't won a Super Bowl yet. Falcons have like I think it's them and the Sabres, the oldest teams that have never won one yet.
and like to further that like the Cowboys have had a ton of regular season success. They've made the playoffs an abundance of times since they last, made the Super Bowl, much less like made and won the Super Bowl. But like, and like Oregon fits that bill. Like Oregon has been a successful program. They just haven't gotten it done.
I think that's fair. And at 7, a program that I think does get it done, I've got LSU at 7.
I also have LSU at 7.
We know the talent's there. We know that Brian Kelly can coach. We know Garrett Nussmeier can play quarterback, but he's going to bookend seasons with losses. Like he's going to lose to Clemson. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Blake Baker's defense is going to take.
No, and I've talked about LSU in these terms before. I think they are the widest variance team among college football playoff contenders. Like they could not even be close to making the college football playoff, quite frankly. I do think they could win a national championship, though. But there's so much downside when it comes to that variance that I don't have the confidence enough to put them higher. Like, I'm obviously a big believer in Garrett Nussmeier. I'm obviously a big believer in this offense. I might be higher on Blake Baker, but like I don't know what you made a lot of like big changes on what this defensive roster is going to look like. And sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. Like, look at Michigan State under Mel Tucker. Like one year, you hit Kenneth Walker in the transfer portal, you went gangbusters, and you were in double-digit games in the season. The next year, you try to replicate that, and it like the bottom falls out from under you. Like you never know how the transfer portal is going to work when you make such wholesale changes in the portal.
Who's LSU's second best player? Is it Harold Perkins probably still at this point? Is he still the team?
Harold Perkins, or I'm totally blanking on the kid's name. They've got a receiver who's just nasty.
I figured it's a receiver. They always got one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a they're wide receiver you pretty close to it these days.
Yes, they are. Six. Who do we have at six?
At six, I have the Fighting Irish at Notre Dame. And this really came down like so I've spoken on this, like the fact that Notre Dame has faith in CJ Carr enough to push Steve Angeli out the door ostensibly, that gives me some faith in there. At the same time, I'm still a little skeptical that, a first year starting quarterback is going to be able to come in with a program that did lose a bit on defense and be able to win a national championship. And I worry that I think Notre Dame has an exceptionally high floor. I'm a little skeptical what the ceiling looks like.
I've got them a little bit higher. Again, they must have a lot of faith in CJ Carr. Lost a lot of talent to the NFL, both in terms of personnel and Al Golden and the Philip Rivers you have at home and Riley Leonard,
Yeah, right. Exactly.
who just retired apparently.
Yeah, yeah. I thought he retired a long time ago, but that's fine.
Nick Cheppy. So I've got Notre Dame up a little bit higher. Don't really have much more of that. I think really I'll talk about that more once I get to them. But at six, I've got Clemson.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
I think that like them playing the hunted in the ACC is it's something that they did when Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson's quarterback. I don't think that that's something that Cade Klubnik's particularly good at. Garrett
Okay.
Riley is like Riley's brother. That's not their thing. Tom Allen, we'll see what he brings to the table. But like Clemson's got some tough games as well. Like they could lose to Duke. Like that's not out of the realm of possibility. They got to play Palmetto. LSU's not going to be easy. I
Yeah.
forget who else you've got on your schedule if you're Clemson. You got to play at Georgia Tech. You got to play
Yeah.
to host SMU. That's Louisville. That's not going to be fun. So
Yeah.
like maybe like earlier, like their win loss was like 9.5. Like I don't know. And then I looked at it like maybe.
I have Clemson much higher, so
Okay.
we'll get there.
That's fair. Who do you have at five?
At five, I have Ohio State, who I'm going to assume you probably have higher than five.
Oh yeah.
And so, again, like this just comes down to my skepticism about what they've lost and how they've replaced it, essentially. And like, I do think there is something to be said of not necessarily like a national championship hangover, because I think from what we've seen this offseason, Ryan Day is doing a good job of combating that. Like, I don't want to fault him for that. But at the same time, I still do worry that there is a sense of like, you know, maybe Jeremiah Smith takes a couple more plays off because I'm a national champion and I don't want to, risk injury because I'm going to be the number one pick in the draft in a couple years. Like maybe like I just feel like there's a lot of moving parts with this Ohio State team that when you're talking national championship could potentially derail them a little bit.
And this is kind of I've got Ohio State much higher. So like,
Yeah.
and the reason for that is who I've got number five, and that's Penn State.
Okay. Okay.
I just don't trust James Franklin. And honestly, I don't know if I'm starting to kind of turn on Andy Koldnicki a little bit.
Ooh, that wounds me. That hurt. That's right in the heart for me.
I mean, you've got Jim Knowles there, and that changes the game and everything like that. But it's kind of a lot of like you can take a horse to water, but will it drink? Maybe that's Drew Aller. He doesn't get the broccoli wet. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, in defense of Andy Kotelnicki and Drew Aller last year, who's he gonna throw it to, man? They didn't have anyone good to throw it to other than Tyler Warren, who they just peppered with like 12 targets a game.
That's the James Franklin of it all. I mean, he's a former quarterback at like
Yeah.
Division III. Like you should be able to recruit better. It's like, yeah, I was the offensive guru at Maryland and a Ralph Region. I won with Austin Carter Samuels at Vanderbilt. Like, figure this out, dude.
That's right.
There's people there in Pittsburgh and Harrisburg and Philadelphia who want to catch passes for you, man.
100%. 100%.
So yeah, Penn State, like I've kind of turned around a little bit. I still think very highly of them, but like I just think that like Ohio State's basically looking at them like Coach Klein and the Water Boy.
I don't know where I am. I don't know where I am.
All right. And then so four is where I have Notre Dame.
Okay, okay. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. Absolutely.
And I don't really have much to say about
Okay.
that. There's a chance like when Brett McMurphy said like they were the number one seed, I think Notre Dame could go undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, it's not out of their own. Like, the schedule is not easy, but it's also not like overly daunting.
they'll probably be favored in every game they play.
Yeah.
And like, if you beat Miami, if you beat A&M, if you beat Boise, like you're cooking, dude.
I mean, we're not factoring in the Northern Illinois of it all. Like that's
No.
always on the table when it
They
comes
could
to the
lose to they could
Irish.
lose to Stanford.
Yeah, 100%.
So who is four for you?
Fours, well, I got to tell you, I have written down here 3A and 3B because I can't differentiate these two teams. 3B is Georgia, 3A is Texas. And it's very different reasons. I am skeptical of the ceiling of Gunnar Stockton, but I know that this Georgia defense is going to be good. And in the same way, like I'm a Arch Manning believer in Texas, but I also understand that he is inexperienced, and I do think that that is going to matter if we're talking national championship here. But the one thing I know is like, despite the questions I have about quarterback with both of these teams, the rest of the roster is really damn good. And like, you know what? You might not need the quarterback to win a national championship with either of these teams this season.
I think that's fair. Three is where I've got Texas.
Okay.
And my thought is like Arch, you got to win one of these three games. You have to win in Columbus, you have to win in the swamp, or you have to win between the edges. And if you can't do that, you're not going to the playoff. But
Yeah.
fortunately, I think you do beat the Gators. You probably don't win the other two games. Maybe you beat Georgia in a rematch in Atlanta, but like you got to make this happen. And then
Yeah.
Sark, it's like with James Franklin, it's the same sort of thing. It's like we think you can do it. Please just do it.
Yeah.
And although Texas is like really loaded, and that's kind of why I've got them the top three, because I think all three of those rosters are just it's fail like it's idiot proof at this point.
No, 100%. It really is. And like you look at both Texas and Georgia, and like these two, like it's an embarrassment of riches across the board. It's just like you said with Arch Manning. And I will say, I believe we might be headed for a week one clash because you seem to be leaning very heavily towards the Buckeyes, and I am not. So
Well, one of us is going to be wrong, and that's
that's
going to
right.
be great. So, who do you have at two?
Two is where I have Penn State. And like I said, I had Clemson much higher because I have Clemson at one.
Yeah.
So we'll touch on Clemson in just a second. But Penn State, I get the James Franklin of it all. That's why I have them at two. But I look at this roster, I look at what they've done. Like, I'm very high on the Pena addition to the wide receiver core. Like, I think that is something that unlocks another dimension in this offense. You even go back to when Kotelnicki was working with Lance Leipold at Kansas. They didn't necessarily have the most elite receiver talents, but they had functional athletes there. And that's what Pena is. And like, I think his speed is going to help unlock this offense. And if they have if they can upgrade in the passing game, then you have Allen and Singleton in the backfield to go there. And then, like you said, you know what this defense is going to be capable of. And especially with Jim Knowles coming in, like, even with the coordinators they've had in the past, like, you never really had to worry about the Penn State defense. And now you add the best defensive coordinator in college football. So, like, we know what this team, like, talk about high floors. I think Penn State is an extremely high floor team, but I think what they've done and like how they've maneuvered, whether it's adding Knowles, whether it's adding Pena, whether it's, supplementing some of the defensive pieces that they lost. Like, I think that this team has, or I think this program has raised its ceiling to a national championship level.
We can only hope so. So two, I've got Georgia, one I've got Ohio State. I think
Yeah.
the difference between Georgia and Texas is like, again, I think Georgia kind of just has owned Texas, and until then, I got to see it.
Yeah.
But the reason I've got Ohio State over Georgia is even though Georgia did beat Ohio State in one of the craziest games of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
You look at Georgia's schedule, they still got the monkey on their back that is Alabama. Oh, and you can't lose to Ole Miss twice. And then Florida's getting better. So that's and the Georgia Tech's you almost lost to them last year. You needed 8 overtimes there as well. I think with Ohio State, like you own Penn State, you just clobbered Oregon. You slaughtered basically everybody but Michigan. So why can't you figure that out?
No, 100%. Yeah. It's they've got a Michigan-sized monkey on their back, that's for sure.
Is it the mitt or the upper? I don't know.
The M stands for monkey, brother. I don't know what to tell you.
That monkey will bite you.
That's right.
I don't know. Do you want to recap ours, or if not?
I was gonna make one point with Clemson.
Yes.
For Clemson at number one to me, I understand the Cade Klubnik skepticism, and I don't think necessarily that Cade Klubnik is a world beater by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's a very good player. But to me, this comes down to Dabo. I think that for as much, trepidation as you might have about Klubnik in that position of being the hunted, I think Dabo thrives in being the hunted, especially when he has the talent to back it up. And like, I think this is one of the most talented Clemson teams that we've seen in a long time.
How do you think he does with the Gen Z stare?
Probably not well. He probably tries to give him like one of those little mini copies of the New Testament. Like that's probably Dabo's move.
Yeah, you can't come play at Clemson. Are you homeschooled? Well, come on down, boy.
That's right.
All right, I'll go through my 10. You go through your 10, and we'll move on to the second half of the show. So at one, I've got Ohio State, two, Georgia, three, Texas, four, Notre Dame, five, Penn State, six, Clemson, seven, LSU, eight, Oregon, nine, Alabama, 10, Miami. I mean, Oregon might win a national title, but not really. I think the top seven is kind of where it's going to come from.
Agreed on that. And I think we disagreed a lot 6 through 1, but I think that 7 through 10, we're pretty confident in there. I have one Clemson, two Penn State, 3A Texas, 3B Georgia, five Ohio State, six Notre Dame, seven LSU, eight Oregon, nine Miami, and 10 Alabama.
I don't know how to transition to this next topic, so give me 1 second, please. But you know, the funny part is we don't see Nico Iamaleava's team there at all, and with the cluster that he and his father put forth there in Knoxville, Big Dave, or I guess it's Dave, whatever they're all named Dave, isn't it?
It's just a host of Daves.
Yeah, he's the Eugene Levy you had at home, and he goes up to James Emmanuel Levinstein, really proud of your kid. He says, "Well, we'll just tell your mother that we ate it all. You're doing great, sweetie." If Kirk Herbstreit's intel on the reason why Nico Iamaleava left Tennessee is accurate, what a train wreck.
Yeah, it's not good. It's definitely not good. And I mean, like, I think the wild thing about that is like it wasn't good even before we heard this. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you were holding out for more money and then ended up signing somewhere else for less money, that's not good to begin with. And then it just gets worse from there.
So he basically gets 40% of what he was making already.
Mhm.
Yes, he's from Long Beach. Yes, he's Southern California. Yes, UCLA was probably really big when his dad was in school because UCLA was actually pretty strong in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Terry Donahue and Troy Aikman and that era of it. But his basically thing was like after the first round game, they lost in the horseshoe to Ohio State. It's like, you got to get better offensive linemen. You got to get better receivers. And yes, I've been critical of Tennessee with Josh Heupel with the gimmicky air raid.
Mhm.
Everybody who's a good defensive mind figures it out. That's why they don't beat Georgia. That's why they don't beat Texas.
Mhm.
But do you think UCLA, like, when has UCLA had better players than Tennessee in our lifetime? Never.
Right. 100. And like, I do want to say, like, I understand the criticisms of Tennessee. It just, in hindsight, looks very dumb because of what you're describing here. But like, when Tennessee got their doors blown off, like I looked at that and I was like, yeah, I mean, what do you expect Nico to do? Like the receiving talent just isn't like you were supposed to. Like Squirrel White was supposed to be your number one. He was hurt all year, and then the guys behind him just really weren't special. They weren't difference makers, and so like I don't think that the like Nico and his family like didn't have a point, but it looks very bad when you take that point and then you translate it to UCLA where you're basically the show and you've got to elevate everyone that's around you as opposed to, working within the Josh Heupel system with them.
Look, I think going to UCLA, you're going to play in a more pro style offense. Again, Deshaun Foster was a UCLA legend, had a successful career there as a running back tandem with the Carolina Panthers. Was on Chip Kelly's staff, was going to go to the Raiders, and then he comes back and takes over. So maybe, you're laying the foundation of something special. Maybe this is a way that like Nico can salvage his career, but he thinks he's going to be the number one overall pick in 26 or 27, which is that's like saying I'm going to be Mr. Universe.
I'm
It's
going to be on the
ridiculous.
moon come Saturday. Like that's basically the equivalent. Like, yeah, no shot.
No, like in 27, like your number one overall pick is going to be like Lenora Sellers if he goes back, Arch Manning, Sam Levitt, Fernando Mendoza, John Mateer, and then you get down to that.
Yeah, like Nico is going to be I barring something drastic happening at UCLA, which I think he's going to be fine at UCLA. I don't think it's going to be bad or anything like that. I don't think Nico's a bad player, but he has round 5 pick written all over him currently.
Yeah, I mean, when I said he's got some DJU in him, like I cursed him a little bit, like I cursed
Yeah.
a guy we're gonna talk about to finish the show. Unfortunately, I've
Yeah.
done this 3 times.
I mean, some people have a gift and it's not always a good gift.
No, it's my sixth sense, man.
That's right.
But like, look, with Nico Iamaleava coming out of high school, out of Southern California, he was the guy that was referred to in the Athletic article, getting an $8 million deal with Tennessee. Or no, maybe not Tennessee, but $8 million deal. You got Jimmy Haslam's pilot flying J money. Like, this is what you signed up for, man. And then it changes on you. Like, it's so it's so strange here that like you go there, you backed up what Hendon Hooker for a year and Joe Milton for a year, and then Hendon Hooker maybe was before you. I think you replaced him. The
Yeah.
timeline's all confusing, and then you go on a leave, and it's like you're at a traditional power like Tennessee, a place where you can win a national championship, a place where I don't know, you can be the first Heisman Trophy winner in school history, and then like you're gonna go to UCLA.
Yeah. And don't foresee a Heisman Trophy in Nico's future currently. Just don't. Like the thing about a Heisman Trophy is you kind of need some help to make it happen. Like Travis Hunter doesn't win the Heisman Trophy if Shador Sanders isn't there. Like you just go back. Like Bryce Young doesn't win a Heisman Trophy if it's not for the Alabama wide receiving core. Like just keep going back. Like there's always help. And like I said, this is Nico's show, and he's going to have to elevate literally everyone that's around him because we have belief in Deshaun Foster and like what he's doing to elevate this program with the talent level. But that's a key qualifier. It's with the talent. This is a lower talent level that Nico is working with, not just like in comparison to Tennessee, but like in the grand scheme of power conference college football.
Like you look at like the last 2 Heisman winners who didn't really have anybody around him. That would be Cam Newton at Auburn in 2010, and then Robert Griffin III in 2011. I don't know how much talent he had there, but like Baylor was awful, and him and Art Briles went 9-3, and that's why you beat out Andrew Luck, I guess.
Yeah, and Cam Newton is quite literally probably the greatest college football player, like or most talented college football player we've
Yeah,
ever seen. So like, and sorry to Nico, you're not Cam Newton. I apologize.
I came across this graphic. It had like the 20 best Heisman Trophy winners, like the last 20 Heisman Trophy winners ranked like its tiers. So you got Joe Burrow at the GOAT status, and then right below that's like your legends of like Tebow and
Yeah,
Reggie Bush and Cam Newton.
yeah.
Just unbelievable players.
Yeah, dude. I mean, speaking of Heisman's where you had some help, Joe Burrow had a little bit. Like Joe Burrow's great, but like Joe Burrow had a little bit of help.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody. Devontae Smith had Mac Brown and Najee Harris. Everybody has help. You can't do
Yeah,
it alone.
exactly.
Oh man, but I still think we're bullish on UCLA in some ways. But this
Yeah,
is
I
just
think we're
weird.
bullish in relation to expectations, which I think is a very like a very important qualifier in that conversation.
I know we're in the heart of a baseball season. I'll probably wrap this part up here with this thought I had. This reminds me of a signing that happened about a decade ago that was really strange and really didn't work out for him. Robinson Cano going from the Yankees to the Mariners.
I like that. That makes a lot of
And
sense.
and without PEDs, he's probably going to be a shoe in for the Hall of Fame, but that's going to throw it up in the in discussion at some point. But like when he was with the M's, he wasn't that great. Then he went to the Mets, and that was a disaster. He played for the Braves briefly, but like he
I forgot
was.
about the not productive, barely on the field Braves tenure of Robinson Cano.
But man, he was like I mean, you're a Red Sox fan, but he was so good at the Yankees at second base coming up, like initially.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. And a nightmare as a Red Sox fan, some might say.
But it's like I forget exactly. You're more in the college basketball world where you're like certain players have to go somewhere, and that's kind of what happened with Ben Simmons. He went to LSU, which doesn't really handle players like this. Like you should go to Kansas or Kentucky or Duke.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You could, could
Will Wade offered him the bag. What can you do,
yeah.
man?
I don't think Ben Simmons can spell Duke if you gave him all 4 letters.
No, couldn't spell it, and also couldn't, hit a jump shot either, which they kind of prefer that you do at the with the Duke program.
I remember when they had the bubble in Orlando and he tried to throw a fish back and he threw it basically on the dock.
It'd be like that sometimes. Sometimes life comes at you fast.
That and then Mike Conley Jr. quarantining himself after seeing his kid being born, and he's just banging on the glass by himself. God, that was like 5 years ago.
Time comes at you fast. Feels like yesterday.
Yeah, time comes at you fast, and I'll say this, man, confidence is high. Repeat, confidence is high. You missed your mark. All right, there's a group of five for fighting. Uh, the Big 12 is not walking Memphis. As a matter of fact, Memphis got shot down in flames. University of Memphis was going to give the Big 12 $250 million to basically buy their way in, and they said no. And that just sucks for Memphis. I feel really bad for them.
I mean, the funniest thing to come out of it was, I think like 2 or 3 hours after the report came out that Memphis, made
Yes.
the offer, the social media department for Memphis football tweeted out, "Proud member of the American." Like you love to see it. That's the best part of this.
So Memphis has become the new Cincinnati, where it's like we can't like let them in. And it's not cool anymore.
I mean, like to be clear, if I'm the Big 12, I'm terrified of a team like Memphis joining the conference because we've talked about it and like one of the things that makes the Big 12 valuable is the parity that we always talk about with the league. Like it makes it a good TV product. It doesn't necessarily make you a national championship contender. It doesn't necessarily make you that, but like TV and revenue dollars still matter, and people are tuning in to watch Big 12 football because it's a good product. It is very fun to watch. When you bring in a program like Memphis that has the history of success that the Tigers have had through multiple head coaches, and I think that's something that needs to be said. Like Memphis is a place where you can win a lot of football games, and we've seen it with multiple coaches. And you bring that into the Big 12. I'm not saying they're immediately going to win the Big 12 or anything like that, but I do think it might upset the paradigm of parity that makes the Big 12 so valuable. So, like, from a business decision, I actually understand why the Big 12 would be a little bit hesitant to add a program like Memphis.
It's kind of like what JMU's done recently at a lower level, but like ever
Mhm.
since like Fuente and then with Norvell and now with Silverfield, like it kind of runs itself. Like your worst season is going to be 8-4. You're
Yeah.
going to be basically towards the top of the American. You're also in a major metropolitan area. You're in the Mid South. You're in the Mississippi Delta. You're in Tennessee.
Hmm.
And I would figure that the Big 12, which doesn't have a lot of major media markets, which is what they went after, like with the four group of five move
Yeah.
ups to basically get, oh, we're in Stillwater, oh, we're in Manhattan, Kansas. Like now we're in Houston, Orlando, and Cincinnati.
Right.
You're also a traditional power in basketball too.
I'm
I
just laughing at the Manhattan, Kansas media market.
I saw somewhere Manhattan, New York has as many people living in South Manhattan, South Dakota, as many people living in North Manhattan as North Dakota. And they've got four like it's senators and like two representatives, and Manhattan doesn't have that.
Oh, life's wild, man.
Life is it's all about space in the air raid. Unfortunately, I have to say this with Memphis. I think academics is an issue.
I definitely think that's definitely part of it. But I mean, like again, that kind of goes back to the paradigm shift as well. Like if you were to overlook those academics, that puts you at a disadvantage for the rest of the conference, and again, potentially upsets what I think is the most valuable part of the conference when it comes to football.
Could you imagine if Penny Hardaway puts a little penny just on like Freddie Yormark's desk? He's like, "Just let me in, man."
Gives him a Sprite.
I feel like what needs to happen? Like, does Elvis Presley have to deliver uh little penny in a fool's gold sandwich? Like, do they have to sell like the rights to FedEx to them?
Memphis has to start playing their home games in the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid.
The Peabody Ducks have to deliver the rights to AutoZone.
That's right.
And it's kind of hilarious, but I do feel bad for them because I think
Yeah.
anybody that wants to level up public school, like if you want to do it, like figure it out and you should be rewarded for it as opposed to like, oh, I guess we're moving to this conference. Like I want to see people like that really care be good. And this may have blown up in their face, but you got to shoot your shot.
Yeah, no, 100%. You gotta make the effort. And I do feel bad for them at the same time. Like, there's a lot to be said for what making the effort can lead to, and like you mentioned, like academics are going to be an issue in most conferences that they would try to join. Like, I don't see the SEC extending an invite to Memphis, definitely not. But like, academics would be an issue trying to join the ACC. Academics would be an issue trying to join the Big Ten. So like, I do understand all of that, but at the same time, the fact that Memphis is making efforts to move up, that's going to catch attention of other leagues. It's going to catch attention of, it could open future opportunities that if further expansion does happen in these leagues and they are looking, Memphis is probably going to be one of the first calls.
I'm going to remove academics from the equation. They might actually fit in pretty good from a competitive standpoint in the ACC. How would you feel about that?
That was literally my thought was football wise, like, hell yeah, put Memphis in the ACC. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you'd have like that'd be really good. I mean, like you could say ACC with academics. Like, what's Louisville? Like, Louisville's been a great addition to the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, Louisville's there for sure academically. They give out degrees there.
Like, you're competitive in basketball, you're competitive in football. You have a rivalry there with Louisville. You could build one with SMU. Like that could be.
Oh, I
That,
mean, Memphis, SMU, going back to the old American days, like that's a sick
yeah.
rivalry you're putting in there.
I know it's a barbecue or something. They play for
That's
some ribs. I don't know if that's true. I think that's Memphis UAB, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. Memphis UAB for the rack of ribs, baby. Sam Pittman cooked them up and bronzed them himself.
But you'd get to 18 teams, and you could probably do a lot more interesting things there with the ACC. Also, it's the same thing with SMU. Right? SMU is like, yeah, we're going to forego a bunch of like rights, like for like Memphis, like, yeah, we'll just give you $250 million. Like, Jim Phillips is like, well, hell yeah.
We'll take it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll use 245 million on a hair transplant and 5 million for my conference.
That's right. That's how the math works out.
I do feel bad for them, but you don't know what the pretty girl's going to say. You have to ask.
That's right. 100%. Yeah. The worst thing she can say is no. The worst thing you could say is proud member of the American.
The worst thing you could say is proud member of the American. What's it like being an American? It's like warm apple pie.
Indeed it is. That's what I've long said about it.
Aneurysm, just like Novocaine. Obviously, we prepared this show a little bit before the untimely passing of Ozzy Osbourne, but we did see what happened with astronomer, CEO, and head of HR going to a Coldplay concert. So we'll do that with some Coldplay. But do you want to talk about Ozzy first, real quick?
I mean, he's one of those people that, in terms of music, like, I don't even know what the right word is. Icon, it obviously, legend, obviously, but like almost just I want to say trendsetter. That's the word that keeps coming to my mind, but like that doesn't feel strong enough. Like he helped create metal music as we know it today. Like he was he was experimental with rock music in a way that people weren't thinking about music at that time. And like on top of that, happened to just have a voice that is one of those, like, one of the things that I always value in music is a voice that is just immediately recognizable. Like it's one of the problems I have with a lot of modern country music is like you listen to a lot of like I like country music, but like I like select people in country music because there's so much of it that just sounds homogenous. And that's never been the case, whether it was solo Ozzy Osbourne, whether it was Black Sabbath, it didn't matter. Like when it came on, you're like, oh, I know who that is. And like, to me, that's the mark of someone who left an indelible impression on the music industry and like what they were able to do. And I think Ozzy embodies that. And then you throw in the pop culture of it all, and like he becomes even more legendary.
Yeah, so from a music standpoint, you're absolutely right. Black Sabbath's the most influential band of all time, more so than the Beatles, because they created heavy metal, they created punk rock, they created all this other stuff that comes off of this. And I mean, I don't know if he really wrote any of the words. I think that was more Geezer Butler writing stuff for Black Sabbath, but he had a really fantastic and amazing solo career as well. I always felt when he was performing or doing anything with music, like he allowed the instrumentalists to do their thing, and he was always like very welcoming and inviting with that. Again, just absolutely crazy person in terms of a personality. Like definitely had some split personality there, but you can't be stupid to have this kind of success. Also, you created reality television, so congratulations.
100%. And yeah, shouts out to one of my favorite cameos of all time, Little Nicky. Just phenomenal.
And then I accidentally cursed him with shout out to him in the dirt.
It happens. It happens.
The crazy train. You got to keep going here. And I don't know what Chris Martin, Johnny Buckland, Guy Berryman, a world champion, have to think about how much they're influenced by Ozzy Osbourne, but I'm sure they were at some point.
At some point, you don't quite hear it, but I'm sure it was there.
Yeah, and when Ozzy Osbourne was at the pool. It was all yellow. So who you got for yellow?
I've got my boy Brian Ferentz here. I feel like his skin and bones turn into something beautiful now that he's not an offensive coordinator. Like, and it's obviously all been yellow at Kinnick for him for a long time. But I just could like it just it the sad yet happy vibes of this song just made me think of Brian Ferentz, especially with it being called Yellow.
I've got Kurt Signetti with the Fear P coming
Yeah,
down
of
his leg,
course, of course.
and also Eli Drinkwitz as well with that too, wanting to be very Big Ten, also Mizzou yellow.
That's right.
My favorite song by Coldplay, Clocks. What do you have for that?
I got Lincoln Riley. Am I part of the cure or am I part of the disease? Well, I think it might be the latter there, Lincoln, but the clock's ticking on you, brother.
You don't have to time when you cook brisket. You just cook the brisket.
That's right. You just, it's all vibes based and the vibes are burnt.
I love this song. They were not going to initially include it on A Rush of Blood of the Head, but the whole song is about having it crashing sense of urgency. And
Hmm.
the producer, someone in the band's like, no, we got to put it in there. We
Hmm.
have to.
Yeah.
So Brian Kelly, you're running out of time there and LSU and grinding on a lazy Susan with these recruits. They don't want to
Yes.
be around. And James Franklin, if not now, when?
Yeah. 100%.
In My Place, the song you forgot about the name of it, but who's in their place?
I mean, let me be fair to myself. We were discussing this on when we were recording Monday's episode when I was coming off the Open Championship
That's
work
fair.
hours, and so my brain was hardly functional. I can't be held accountable for anything I said on the Monday episode because of that. I just want to get that on the record. But I have Dan Lanning. How long must I wait for it? Because we talked about it earlier, man. You got all the talent in the world. You got all the pedigree as a head coach. You got Will Stein there. Like, how long? Because we got to get this done. We gotta see Oregon actually win something.
I think that's fair. That's a great one. My other two are kind of in this vein. That's kind of what it is with Steve Sarkisian for me, for
Hmm.
one.
Yeah.
And then in terms of a guy who might get put in his place, he is cocky. It's Shane Beamer.
Yeah.
Uh,
Unfortunately, yeah.
I gotta share this story. So high school friend, his name is John also. He was in orchestra, he played drums, but he didn't know how to play guitar, but he knew how to play the intro to In My Place, which is like three
Oh yeah.
notes. So I gave him my guitar, and I remember him walking around in his living room, playing it like just stepping around like and really rocking out to it. He thought he was so cool, and he
I
kind of
mean,
was in that
I was about to say
moment.
he sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I dig it.
I know that was that. I did dig it, and let's go flying at the speed of sound with this next song. What do you got for that?
I tried to think real deeply about this, but words at the speed of sound, it's Jimbo Fisher, bro. Like, it's the fastest talking man I've ever heard in my entire life. He missed his calling as an auctioneer.
He's got the name for it. I'm a fish auctioneer.
That's right.
Or if he was Canadian, he should have been in a bare naked ladies. That would have been great for him too.
That's right. Chicken in China, the Chinese chicken.
We're done liaison here. In terms of like every chance that you get is something you have to seize. I'm probably screwing that line up, but that's Matt Rule.
Yeah.
Opportunities extraordinaire. And then, how long before it starts, before it begins? Like, how long before like Hugh Freeze is like you stop saying, "Oh, it's all Brian Harsin's fault." It's come back on you a little bit, bud.
Yeah. I like that.
Uh, this is gonna be fun. Fix you.
That's Rich Rod, baby. Lights will guide you home. Let's go. Country roads and the lights, baby. Taking him back home to West Virginia. He can try to fix you. We'll see how it goes, but I'm not sure it's going to go particularly well. But I'm hopeful. I'm excited to have Rich Rod back.
I'd be very high on this program all episode long, but when you lose something, you get out replaced. So that's Ryan Day losing Jim Knowles. That's gonna be bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And in terms of like, when you try your best but don't succeed, he's crying there in his Letterman's jacket. That's Josh Heupel.
That's it. He's just singing "Fix You" to himself, watching Joey Aguilar in fall camp. Like, son of a.
He's sitting there and behind his desk in his fake drum kit, looking like World Champion. World Champion's is also the Brian Buchanan music, man. I love this.
I just had I had an image just come to my head of Josh Heupel having his desk chair designed like the front of a Trans Am, just because he looks cool in his Letterman's jacket sitting at his desk.
Your bet's a car.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's a sweet car.
That's right.
And then something just like this. What's that for you?
It's Bill Belichick, man. Who else would it be? You know, the myths, the legends and the myths. But you know, he's got the girl asking him, you know, where you want to go, how much you want to miss. You know, guiding it, and then he wants something just like this. He wants to be back in coaching with old Jordo calling the shots there.
Go. But anyway, my two is I've got the entire University of Memphis because they want to, they want to get into the Power Four, and then
They
shaking
want something
babies,
just like it, man.
and then shaking babies, kissing hands. That's Joe McGuire wishing he could be in the playoff.
100%.
Uh,
Oh my God.
he was definitely in that suite, wasn't he? Because
Oh, 100%.
I don't even know where they were. It doesn't matter.
No, not at all.
But this was episode 194 of Fall Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter, the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sissel20. You can follow the show at CFB Fall Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. There's only 4 members of Black Sabbath or Coldplay, but they had more than 5 hits. But just get to 5.
If you add both of Ozzy's personalities, there were 5.
Technically, and if you add Gwyneth Paltrow, there was 5 there in Coldplay too.
That's right. Shouts to Gwyneth, who inspired the saddest of the Coldplay albums, Midnight. My God, what a just like a sad sap of an album.
A Richard Tenenbaum of albums.
It really is. Like, I enjoy it. There's some good songs on that album, but my God, was Chris Martin going through some S in that when he was writing that.
It was like Paul Finch waiting for Janine and she didn't show up.
That's right. You know what? I forget every single time I watch American Pie because, funny enough, while you were in Key West watching this, I was in the middle of the day trying to go to sleep, but to prep for the British Open, and I just turned on American Pie. So I had already watched this. Like, I didn't have to rewatch it or anything. I had already seen it. I was ready to go. So we were ready to rock. But I always forget that Natasha Lyonne is in this movie. I forget it every single time. And then she also plays a very integral role in Paul Finch's character arc in this.
He's got the eagle tattoo, right?
That's right.
The 3 best characters from the first American Pie are Natasha Lyonne as Jessica, Oz, and then Jim's dad.
And then close fourth, Shermanator.
Like I said, confidence is high. Repeat, his confidence is high.
That's right. Oh, he also sometimes wets his pants when he gets nervous.
I don't know if you ever see this movie. It's called Major Pain, starring one of the Wayans brothers.
Have I seen Major Pain?
He shaves his head. He's like, I look so weird.
So, fun story about Cody when he was younger. Wasn't the most in shape kid in the entire world. Had a little bit of tub on me, and whenever I would do anything, my uncle would go 1 tubby tubby, 2 tubby tubby.
I was Big John for a reason. I was always 11 or 12 in my baseball team for a reason.
There we go, baby.
Relax, take it slow, and let the good times roll, because this is Fall Start.